Vale should have been buried by...
From the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight, the Hurricane doing an engine run down there, and many more of our display aircraft down there. Please do go down, say hello, give them a welcome, and while you're there, have a look around the stand and visit Flight Path.
Graham, see that classic lady at Duxford? I can't see him in there, but it's black and white, so you know, you don't know. If he had his hat on, it might show. Tails up. What? So?
That's great, I'm into the big wide yonder.
We've got a tree up here.
Baron, and somehow the Red Baron's insisted that he's going to get his own back. 11 o'clock, Mr. Blobby is appearing on your side of the arena over by the hangars, and you'll find him over there. Somebody tried to wind us up this morning saying we've got a B-1 going through. He said it's a stealth aircraft, blink and you'll miss it, serves you right. We didn't tell you about that anyway, and it's actually not coming. Well, now, ladies and gentlemen, I did say that our Sally B Supporters Club members come from all over the world to the Great Warbirds air displays. Not from quite all over the world, but from South Wales. In Neath, one of our members has come down from South Wales to visit us. Now, if somebody, any of you, are going back home to South Wales this evening and would like to give him a lift,
Oh, they're coming in now. Yeah, this way. I can smile.
Okay. Okay, Bob. All right.
Trump's coming in behind him on the runway.
Well, I haven't said good morning to all our historic military vehicle operators and restorers this morning. Say good morning to all of you. It's nice to see you here. For those of you who don't know, we encourage those owners and operators of historic military vehicles to come and see us at Great Warbirds each year. It's grown and grown and grown. It's all part of the nostalgic feel on the aerodrome, and there are more and more of them. Now, there's going to be a parade coming past the front of you at 10:30, and Steve Burnside will be talking us through the vehicles, because I'm getting to know them rather better as I see them each year, but I don't know the intricacies and the ins and outs. Steve's here. Steve, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to you all.
And we get more and more people in every year, don't we, with these vehicles?
It's increasing. We've actually got more vehicles today than we had yesterday.
Good.
We've got different vehicles. Some people have put other commitments and had to leave us. We've got new visitors, so a different array today.
We've got people back from Normandy, presumably. They've been over there for the...
try the Warbirds now.
There's a fair few people stopping through on the way back up from the ferry ports down south.
Loaded up with the plonk, no doubt.
Unfortunately, the plonk and the cases of beer didn't arrive last night. We had to supply our own, unfortunately. So, but we can get the microphone away from Jerry. B-17G. I don't think there's anybody in England or the world now who doesn't know the history of Sally B already. So it's a bit different. There goes the Intrepid Aviation Mustang. There's Eddie catching up. The Intrepid one is 350.
I should imagine it's probably Norman flying this display at the Spitfire and PJ in the 51, I would think.
Apologies for that. But we've still got Eddie in the Mustang.
I think that's Norman Lee's there.
Tremendously symbolism, of course, because up until early 1944, it was...
Look at that.
Only, that's a Griffin engine example, of course, the more powerful, the 2,000 horsepower plus in that. Repeats are going to take off. We've got two repeats, AKIF, which is Sir Adrian Swires.
Indeed.
Railway Air Services, Hillmans, Ollies, all these people, they all had repeats, and they served all over the world as well. Around the Empire and in other places as well. The Egyptians had them. Israel.
Yes, they were another British success for de Havilland, weren't they?
They were indeed. We had a good decade. I think all these are converted up to the Gypsy Queen, the Mark IV standard, I think, aren't they? I think all repeats now have the big engines, but I wouldn't swear to that.
Yeah, we've just had actually a good suggestion from Trevor to say that...
hang on to it, they're rare.
This is...
He's the one with the yellow tail. I think he is. He might be the one on that. Oh, it is the leader.
Now, down to a duo.
We've shared one.
I think we've shared Yankee Romeo, the Clacton Aeroplane.
Yes, who is not in fact a close formation man.
Quite.
So we're down to the two people cleared for it.
Mike Lima, the number 2 in that formation, actually won the restoration trophy here last year. A very, very good job it was too, done by Bill Bowker down at Rush Green near Hitchin.
Yes, well, Ken Waller and Cathcart Jones were in the second one.
Flew all the way home again, didn't they?
They did, yes, taking back the newsroom into the finish. Yes, and the Morrisons got finally stuck, I think, in Karachi. Morrisons are always getting stuck in odd places.
My plane and the Camel.
Oh, yes, which by modern standards are appalling, because the pilots love them.
This is a nice shot. I wonder if there's a break coming up here. Let's count it in. Braking, braking, go. Oh, lovely.
There's something for the pâté de bourgeois.
If anybody gets a good shot of that, ladies and gentlemen, you take a photograph. I'd like a copy, please. That was smashing.
There's practically no reserve of power on this aeroplane. As I say, you lose speed tremendously quickly through a maneuver because of the drag. You'll notice that Brian not only keeps the aeroplane beautifully in front of us, but it's all done, pretty well done to 1,000 feet. And he keeps getting back up to his height all the time. His flying is extremely accurate. And it's very graceful. You'll never hear the howl of an engine being bent on full throttle, or nothing is jerky. And the difficult maneuvers with slow high-drag aeroplanes, like slow rolls and things like that, are absolutely immaculate. They're very accurate. Up to a stalled turn now, the speed sliding back down, and just before he falls out of the sky, boot full rudder on, round she comes. Back down, build speed up for the next maneuver. Sponsored by Rover this year. It's a new sponsorship. Up to a reverse half Cuban. That's a half roll onto his back at 45 degrees upwards, and again to hold that accurately in a stomp is very good flying. Yes, Rover has come into the sponsorship, aerobatic sponsorship, I think, for the first.
It's a pleasure.
Now, in fact, we have got...
Well, mates of mine coming up now.
Well, yes, we're advancing. There was a buffer slot. Now, you know a great deal more about the Harvards, and particularly about the radial pair, because you used to work with the Harvard team, didn't you, for a long time?
Well, I spent a couple of seasons sitting on a very hard parachute pack in the back of a Harvard being carted round for some 20. Norman Lees in the radial pair, those two World War II fighter trainers.
Gary's not in his own aeroplane, of course.
No, he's not one of the Keegan aeroplanes. The Zero look-alike, which Gary normally flies, is down for some fairly severe maintenance. He puts about 100 hours a year on the aeroplane in aerobatic displays and practice. He's probably Gary.
It's an easy aeroplane to fly, so it was a good trainer from that point of view. It made you work.
Yeah, they're coming right in.
So, running in now, right. Now watch this, ladies and gentlemen, because part of training is handling, and there's no better way of how to handle one of these aircraft than the radial pair. I'll just explain that Gary in the lead is responsible for keeping the duo in sight and in front of you, and Norman Lees as his wingman is sitting there, and it's his job to keep station on the leader's aircraft. So whatever attitude, the equipment in those days was pretty beefy, pretty heavy. So now look at this. Leading in, Gary Newman in one of the Keegan Harvards. And no more than, what would you say that was? 6 to 8 feet separating the two.
If that, yes.
Lovely. Pulling up, you can still, if you've got the speed going into that manoeuvre, you can still pull nice big figures. Now look at Norman now. Just boots it round, drops back slightly in, and then pulls in behind Gary at the top of that.
That's very neat.
That is indeed. I'm sorry, John.
Sorry, no, I was going to say you've got the additional problem.
It looks like one aeroplane.
It looks like
lovely,
a large twin-engine biplane, yes. It's interesting. Look
at the overlap, John.
Yes.
He's
this is the barrel, is it? Look at that. It's not what you'll call a sensitive aeroplane on control, is it? So you...
I mean, particularly Norman. I mean, there is a yes, but as John said, not the most responsive aircraft in the world to fly. So there's some fairly coarse movements to keep-on station.
Yes, it takes...
There's a nice break coming there, look. Oh, well.
Yes, it takes... you can't just put the brake on as you can in a car. Of course, you've got a lot of inertia to overcome. And as it's in the point you made about its being underpowered, you think 450...
Sit in a Harvard and then move and sit in a Spitfire, and quite honestly, you understand why people were reasonably confident of flying fighters once they'd finished with these. Bit of opposition stuff coming up now. We haven't got any smoke side than normal working hours in Norman's case. You know,
well, it's a well-known fact that all professional pilots have to have a second job, isn't it? And unlike the Harvard, it's a delight to fly. Everybody raved about it, didn't they? Beautifully harmonized controls.
And it's whereas the Harvard is tandem seating, this is side by side.
This is side by side. This again introduced something new in training techniques. And the argument about whether you have pupil and instructor one behind the other or side by side is still going on. And the jet bombers, which was basically just a jet version of this, very elegant little aeroplane, designed by a brilliant man called Arthur Bage, who was chief designer to Edgar Percival and actually designed, basically did all the good bits of all the Percival era. 1948 spec for an RAF trainer to succeed the Prentice, which was a hand carved from solid by gentlemen with wooden bowler hats, and the Vampire, the first jet advanced trainer for the RAF. And for the first time, because they were less compatible, the RAF split them up, and some they both belong to him. And it's not Mervyn Hiscox flying it, and the name has escaped totally from me, and I apologise to him for that. Chris Edmondson, yes, you're absolutely right, I'm sorry about that. Pretty aeroplane. One of the first post-war RAF display teams to appear before the public in the 1957 Farnborough show was the Central Flying
50. I think these are probably about the same price.
Yes. Your real costs, of course, came when you started finding out what it cost to translate them into civilian standards of maintenance and safety.
Yes, the Alvis Leonides was not...
well, it was a big
not
engine,
a simple engine.
Leaving that. And after the war, they went back to this. They produced a little thing called the Merganser, and then a bigger version, which was the Prince, which basically is what we're watching a military version of.
It took a while for owners of these aircraft to get the MOD and the military's agreement.
So it
yes, there was one of these aeroplanes sitting on Bourne Aerodrome up in Cambridge with the Rural Flying Corps.
That's right,
a lovely name for a
Rural Flying Club, yes, the RFC, yes. That's right, but that was in fact a Seafritt.
Yes, you're right, it was.
And I don't...
It had a writing on the front, name, but Spirit.
Yes, the silver and the yellow stripes, the conspicuity. We'll talk more about that when we see some Oxfordshire aircraft. This way to see. It really looks the part, doesn't it, with the swept wings. So
Yes, it does. Flaps, I think.
Liquid flaps there. One or two problems there. And it was a complicated thing. I think on the Hobson unit, and I think they still have one on the wall at Valley to remind me. And the idea was that if you had hydraulic failure, and therefore if you simulated one, you would try and freeze the tail in a neutral position.
Get back to an all-flying flank again.
And you then unlock the tail end, elevate. But as you said, it was designed really as a single-seat fighter.
Yeah.
Second seat, such a wonderful mission.
Yeah.
Something buried behind the tube.
Oh, yes.
Rather like the lightning. Takes it, pilots recognised now as basis of standard levels, and then we run themselves. That's it out of the front. But that's your question on
This is the old Fred Dunkley Gemini, I think. Fred used to race it in the National Air Races. Everything that the Miles brothers designed was avant-garde, aerodynamically impeccable, mostly, and a delight to fly. I don't think there were any exceptions, except possibly the Magister, which was really rather too solid to be a delight to anybody. But
Jim feels very at home in this airplane, doesn't he?
oh yes, he does. So he's flown a tremendous lot. It's about the last Gemini still flying, I think. They came under this great ban on wooden aeroplanes when the glues were discovered to have a definite shelf life, and they had to be totally rebuilt.
It's only just really, isn't it? Because it's a small aeroplane. I mean, looking at it close up.
Oh yes.
When we see it now displaying, and you don't actually have a reference to set it against,
No, that's right.
For thinking it was the size of some other twin-engined aircraft of the time. It's actually really very cosy when you see.
Oh yes, yes.
Taxiing around this morning with the gull wing panel over.
That's right. But
if you put it next to a Beech 18 or something.
Oh, well, yes, of course, but then you're... Well, it was, really. And Beech always, to this day, Beech aeroplanes are rather more expensive than a comparable Piper or Cessna twin, but they are very much more luxurious. They're real top-of-the-market aeroplanes, very solidly built. And Walter Beech always insisted that that was the kind of aeroplane he wanted to sell. Persevered, and eventually, just before the war, suddenly it clicked. And he sold about 50 or 60 of them. And his great success, of course, came when the United States Army, which then ran the Air Force, decided they wanted one as a VIP transport. And they gave him a very big order for these, supplemented later by one for trainers. Came on the 87 as a basic, and Beech sold several hundred of these to the armed forces during the war.
We were talking earlier about the Harvard formation team, and Anthony Hutton ran one of these as a sort of mothership to the team.
He still does.
In SEAC colours, wasn't it? Southeast
This is really two Harvards in very close formation. That's right, because the Brits, I think about, out of the cabin interior is panelled in leather. Get everything with leather instruments. Oh, yes.
Indeed. It's a good bit of flying here from Anthony Hutton, because
it looks as if he's gone over the vertical, but of course he hasn't.
No, because he's not allowed to.
This is because he's not allowed to. But the same thing happened with several other Beech aeroplanes. The Bonanza, the V-tail Bonanza, had the same trick at low level, and that hunted gently in pitch all the time if you left it. But it's a lovely aeroplane to fly. There's two big fat engines in your ears, or just in front of you. I flew one in Australia.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, to get kicked by Mr. Blobby.
Well, not anybody could say that, could they?
Now, a bunch of very worried-looking Mr. Blobby minders following him down there. What's he going to do next?
Have their work cut out.
Anna, keep personified. Now, look out there.
We've now got our Russian pair, resplendent in the old Tsarist Russian, Imperial Russian flag back on their rudders.
Yes.
And these are two of the three Russian airplanes that have been here this weekend. The one on the left, the SM-92 finished. And finished is a sort of mythical Russian bird, I gather. I don't know her name. Has not been seen, I don't think, in captivity. This is its first appearance in the UK, I'm pretty certain it is. Yes, fully aerobatic. And it's being displayed today by a splendid friend of mine called Khalid Makagonova, beg your pardon. And we'll see her a little bit later on, giving very Technoavia in Moscow. It's built at the aircraft plant in Smolensk. And it's called the SM-92. The finished, it was designed by a man called Yari Parachutist. It could tow two gliders at once. It would carry 600 kilograms of stores. You could use it for crop dusting. And I said, is it aerobatic? And he said, watch the display. Rugged. It's a stall aircraft. Yes, it lands and takes off at 250 meters. It bears considerable resemblance to two of the aeroplanes that it's intended to replace the standard big radials. This is the same 360 horse radial that they use in virtually everything. And the view from the cockpit, in fact, is extremely good. Far better than it ever was in a Beamer. Well, you couldn't see anything, but consider that this is a four-seat tourer while you're watching this. It's the equivalent of the smaller single-engine Pipers and Cessnas. There she is, the still like the reigning, what she must be, because the Yak 18T. I don't know what the T stands for.
Another very strong aeroplane, John, as
Oh well, all Russian airplanes are built dead strong.
Yeah. Same engine as the Finnish?
Same engine, yes, and same engine as the Sukhoi 26, in fact. But it's a workmanlike looking aeroplane, that Finnish. A nice cockpit. Now it's how they're doing. Up to the 45. 2 points of a 4-point hesitation roll and round the rest of the loop, a manoeuvre called a half Cuban. The full manoeuvre, which is repeating that going in the other direction, is a full Cuban 8, which basically is a horizontal 8 standing on it, you know, with a half roll put in of some sort to bring you upright after the 3/4 loop. Designed apparently by an American instructor of the Cuban Air Force many, many years ago. So the story runs. And she's completing the 8, coming back. That's another useful, the 3/4 loop and the roll out is a very useful turnaround maneuver. 4-point is a Russian contribution. What looks like being, looking at the list of displays this season, one of the very few Russian contributions this year. The big boys don't seem to be coming over. Now, we're on to the first Balbo, aren't we?
Yes, bit of battle attack coming up here, I think. We have to assume now that we're down somewhere on the south coast.
I'm going to leave this one to you. You get worked up about these much better than I do. I take it all too.
There we are, coming in now. That was a smashing display. We need an imagination shift from you now, ladies and gentlemen. Just imagine that once we've cleared the area, Pilatus, the P2, and our old friend Lindsay Walton's Messerschmitt 108 is coming in too, and we're under attack as we speak. The P2, followed in by the 108. Lindsay's 108 has been on the display circuit now for something like 20 years, acting the baddie. And that is a surprise attack, sneaking in around the back. The southern airfields, Manston, Hawkinge, all the way down there, used to be regularly pounded. Basically, exactly the same as you heard about in the Gulf War. You deny an airfield to somebody and make it very difficult for those forward-placed fighters to get airborne. Oh, and we're being bombed now. Huge explosions going on the other side of the field. Now, what are we going to do about this? I think, really, it would make sense to scramble some of the fighters. I don't know what we've got around available, but looking out there now, I can see a couple of Spitfires at least out on the grass. Dave Southwood once again, the P2, another strafing run. Lindsay in the 108 following him through.
By no means easy, of course, to take off from an airfield under attack when you're being cannoned and you've got bombs going off all around you.
That's some very, very hairy stories that come out of that about people trying to do. Wow, look at that! I don't know who's doing the pyrotechnics this year, but boy, are we getting beaten up. Lovely. The 108 coming through down into the smoke. Of course, all our most valuable aeroplanes parked over there in the hangars on the far side of the field. getting a bit concerned now, but there they go. One. Rolling. Ladies and gentlemen, the first of the great Warbirds set pieces that those of you who've been to see one of these displays before will have watched and enjoyed. We've launched Carolyn Grace's 2.9, the two-seater. Don't forget that was the first Spitfire to shoot down an enemy aircraft when providing cover for the D-Day landings. And the other aeroplane, the Dutch Spitfire, which we've got here with us, I think that's the second of our defenders. Flying the Clipwing, the Shuttleworth Spitfire.
Another one going out.
The Dutch one taxiing out now. Aeroplane shot down the first enemy aircraft in Junkers 88 over Normandy. Is actually here today. I hope he's enjoying this. Brings back a few memories. Yes, he is, John. Just let you watch and listen to this for a while. Aeroplanes wheeling all over the sky. Very typically great Warbirds.
But
Look.
Ah. Oh, isn't that nice? Shuttleworth Mark 5, Caroline Grace Mark 9, the Dutch Mark 9. And the two nines bearing the squadron codes that they actually wore on D-Day with the same squadron. Nice aeroplane. That again was a pretty startling thing. It was a 240 horsepower at maximum, 4-seat tourer. It was designed as a propaganda tourer. And in 1934, when it first for 4 people, retractable undercarriage, flaps, leading edge slats, it was a 4-seat touring fighter. I mean, there was no other thing about it.
Well, that was a bit necessary, wasn't it, with the embargo on developing fighting aeroplanes that there was in place at the time.
Well, by then, of course, they got round that by then. And a secret training base at Lipetsk in the Soviet Union.
That's right, there was, wasn't it? And an awful lot of gliding and private flying.
Tremendous amount of gliding and private flying, yes. And then you got to the stage when Lufthansa, the German state airline, was a thinly disguised bomber group. But 1933, when the Nazis came to power, of course, they opened up and announced that they were back in the business. And the idea of things like the... and we come on to the Battle of Britain Memorial flight. The full flight this time. In fact, we should be seeing in the Dakota flight past, we should be seeing their new XRAE Dakota made up in the markings of Flight Lieutenant John Lord, who got a very gallant posthumous VC at Arnhem. I watched some of those people flying and dropping. I don't know that I ever watched him. Eventually about 600 horsepower out of that big Shvetsov radial. But basically the same thing. Even more of a tricky aeroplane, I would imagine, than the Harvard, because you see it's got an extremely small wing compared to the bulk of that fuselage. And basically the tail and the wing are those of the Yak-9 single-seat fighter. In fact, they are identical. And they merely slapped a big radial engine and a two-seat 1.7. There's the Hurricane going out. Running in from your right. Camouflage, of course, with no codes or no squadron code. There's real multi-gun fighters, gladiators, multi-gun fighter coming back. Hurricane, the last one was wood in any case, but it was built up of the sort of Warren girder braced fuselage. Had it out with wood, and same engine, same armament. One result of that gap to build aeroplanes in those days. Germans admitted, in fact, that they were copying American manufacturers. 1,000 odd Lancasters built were shot down. That was a bit fun accidents.
John, if I could just interrupt you again.
Of course.
For those that are interested and those in the pilot's enclosure, the pilot's prize giving is now just about to take place.
And here's our Lancaster. And I'm turning over to Trevor now. 52 years ago, a live recording of a Lancaster.
Hello, Bombardier. Okay when you are. Bomb doors open. Bomb doors open, Bombardier. Right. Steady. Steady. Bomb going in a minute, Bomb. Hey, Jim. Okay. Okay, go. Hello, mid-gunner. Do you recognize that fighter you shot off? No, I didn't recognize it, but it's definitely going down now. Good, Jimmy, I can see it. Fine, good show. I can see it now. Yeah, no, he's moving. Good show, lad. Now keep your eye on it.
Followed by the last run in formation, so if you want to get a final picture of them, that's your time to do it. Lights going out of the day a bit. Very individual with markings, but some of the Max squadrons did it rather smart.
Sorry, JC to the pilot's tent, please. JC, pilot's tent.
You're mentioning refueling there, as you just said, Mosquito can get to Berlin unrefueled.
Yep.
Air refueled. And of course, one of the great drawbacks of going to jet engines is they don't half-guzzle the gas.
Right. Coming in from your right now, the final run.
Probably
very eyes.
Because he's the same colour as the Russians, you couldn't see him.
That's about it. Yes. Those are the standard United States Army Air Corps training colours for the pre-war period. Places like Airfield, Randolph Field. And the differences were better than the difference of engine you put in. A big classic radial biplane, 52 years old now, the aeroplane. And it's wearing, as I said, its original. In fact, not a minute or so, it was grudgingly to get up to height. With 300 plus horsepower in the more powerful versions, you've really got quite a lot of power for aerobatics.
Now, is this the same aeroplane that we'll see later, John, with the crunchies?
It's basically the same type of aeroplane, yes, it is. Well, one of the crunchies aeroplanes has the big 450 Wasp, as in the Harvard mounted. Makes formation flying very difficult with the other one. This was the aeroplane in which all pre-war American pilots would have gained their first piloting experience and their first look at aerobatics and things. A lot of them became surplus after the war's end, and it became very popular as a single-seater crop duster. Reliable, it was very manoeuvrable, and it also became a very popular aerobatic and show aeroplane, which was when people began to put Harvard-type Wasps in. One or two people like Des Norman did try it. In fact, started quite successful dusting operations with Tiger Wasps. It wasn't what you would call a massive exercise.
As you say, a big aeroplane, so reasonable capacity to actually carry
a great big fuselage, and you put a huge hopper into the front cockpit, you see, or in place of the front cockpit. You moved on to the Harvard, of course, from this in the training sequence. Tremendous output of anything. He never achieved great status as an aircraft designer. Here we come. One of the features of this Russian Harvard, of course, is the fact that it was basically built on the Yak-9 fighter wing. So compared to Harvard, it must have very high wing loading. And does that have any noticeable effect on the approach, for instance, and landing? And it's gone to sleep.
Just watching that. The noticeable effect certainly is. Obviously, they're pulled through from that first looping manoeuvre, which I was just thinking about, yes. A lot more ability to pull through. Very nice aeroplane from the wing. That makes all the difference compared to the Harvard.
That's got more horsepower than the Harvard, doesn't it? Just the start. It's up to about 600, I think. Shvetsov. What sort of speed does it approach at?
It was flying back in just about
Great chap, Eddie. He's an air racing pilot for many, many years. And it's operated, it's looked after by Intrepid Aviation. They've taken under their wing. This is an ex-Egyptian Air Force Yak, one of some 700 that
requires a little bit of concentration. Those of us who fly modern aeroplanes have the luxury that you just get used to the ability to use negative G. So all his rolls must be loaded, and
the amount of positive G you can pull must be limited in an aircraft like that.
Absolutely. True, of course, of most of the fighters. So limited some 4G.